to another little SAF podcast with your boys. I am your host, Sterling Silver. How are you doing? I'm doing good. With us today we have Matthew. Who are you, Matthew?
It's me. I'm Matthew, the mischievous gentleman, here to talk with you all about some mechas. We love mechas. We've been watching this shit for quite a while. You more than me, Sterling. I've been in this, and I've been enjoying the subject matter we're going to tackle today.
Enjoying,
kind of.
Say. Okay.
We'll be getting to that soon. No worries.
Another little guest here, Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
I am a shell of a man after this anime expo just finished up.
Oh, you at Anime Expo? You are?
Well, it's over now.
Oh well, all right. And special guest. Who's this boy? Kurosai. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I knew I had to do this podcast at around 7, so I said, okay, let me just stop working all night and let me go to sleep at 1, and then I'll wake up at 7, and it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So I'm here now, and I'm ready to talk about this thing.
All right. Let's see here. Let me get my notes out just to be certain I don't miss anything.
Happy to have you.
Thanks.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, Kurosai? For those wondering.
All I really do is, I tweet a lot about anime and a number of other things. So I guess I'm somewhat of a reporter on this stuff. I don't really go completely in depth, but I do have opinions that I put out there every so often.
Yeah.
About certain anime, and I definitely voiced my opinion on Dolly and Franxx.
Yes.
Other than that, the majority of my time is consumed by me posting comedic or parody posts on anime on YouTube. So that's pretty fun for me, since that's pretty much what I do full time now. I don't really do anything else.
And you pretty much are enjoying what you're doing?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not even like a person anymore because I'm so free. The way I can wake up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and say, okay, well, let me just get to work and then work for 4 hours and go back to sleep or something. I like that a lot.
How about all this YouTube drama? Is that affecting you in any way?
Most definitely. I'm not sure what I can say publicly about YouTube. I don't want to hurt anyone, reputation, something like that. But YouTube is YouTube, and everyone knows that. They know that, and they're definitely rocking out with their cocks out.
To get you a little bit free, I've seen that you've done a lot of Darling in the Franxx videos, but have you done one that you think is your favorite, or one that you have done that is objectively the greatest one in your book, or do you have any of those things?
I think I want to say that the one that I plan on doing, the one that I had planned on doing when the series finished, because I wanted all the episodes for the video, is the one that I think will be the best. But
cool.
That last episode, it kind of threw me off. So
there's a lot to have strong opinions about. Yeah, we'll get to that. No worries.
So, all right. Alrighty. So let's get right into the butt of it. So,
for better or for worse.
So for you children out there listening, we're going to go through episodes 22, 23, and 24, which apparently is the finale, which it even says it's the finale. And we'll be talking about what happened within them episodes, as well as give our thoughts on how we liked it, or vice versa. Cough, cough.
I won't be doing any of this because I'm not watching. Kurosai, your videos are like the only thing I've seen of Darling in the Franxx.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I'll talk about it when it's yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, so episode 22. Do you want to take the reins of this, Matthew, or you want to give the reins?
No, I
Hey, I'll give a summary of what 22 happened. Alright, so basically, what happened before was in 21 and 20, we got the introduction of the Verm. Oh boy, for some reason. There is also a ticking time bomb that revealed itself to be a huge mech for some reason, and then all of a sudden, all that build-up, all that amazing, cool build-up for that thing to go into space, well, forget it, boy. We're back on Earth, and retracting all that for almost no reason other than to say that, oh, all these people are living their lives, they're planting stuff, the gang is realizing that Kokoro is also pregnant. Oh boy. And then there's some huge plot holes here and there with why 02 and Hero aren't in the big huge mech for some reason, even though it showed them in the mech, but not no more. And basically Hero is tending to 02 because she's basically somewhat comatose in a way.
Yeah.
And then we find out in the last minutes of the episode that, oh hey, wait a minute, 02 is consciously still up there fighting them Verm. Oh boy. And that's basically the gist of 22. All of it, all that it was, hey, you want to know what these kids are doing while the whole huge battle is up there in the stars? Well, here you go. And it kind of kills the momentum. Any thoughts on this? Anybody want to go first? On this episode of 22? If you can remember that far?
No, okay, no. The problem is with me is when I came into this, I knew automatically I'd have very little to say about 22 and 23, to be honest with you, because we got thrown a bunch of shit that felt necessary to wrap up these series as quickly as possible. So I get that. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know. I don't have too many thoughts on the matter beyond how we can break down the last 3 episodes as a whole, because what did we really get out of 22 that wasn't either shown to us or at least implied beforehand?
Yeah.
We didn't really get a lot here that's worth talking about.
All it was for me was it was a huge momentum breaker, because basically in the previous episode it was like, oh, they're going to space, oh boy, and then nah, man, you gotta wait another episode.
We had talked about this before, but what it came down to is I would have been much happier to see this series climax with a fight in the center of the Earth as opposed to space, because if we're going to take on the setting and the whole if we're really going to emphasize the importance of magma energy, then as opposed to a space frontier, which we've seen with this before with Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, so on and so forth.
Yep.
I would have liked a bit of a theme shift and see what you could do with taking the fight to the Klaxosaurs to their home turf on the center of planet. I know that we're already beyond that by the time that 22 has already started, but my one big grievance remains that I would have liked to see them explore that more. I know Dr. Franxx went in and confronted the Klaxosaur princess, but we could have done more with that whole setting, and I think it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah, it is what it is.
Any thoughts, Kurosai?
I have no idea why they decided to just completely shift this series. With not only one point being that they dropped every bit of exposition like around 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And they intended to wrap everything up within the last bit of those episodes, and the last 2 or 3 episodes ended up shifting the series in a completely different direction. It's like they got someone else to write the story halfway through, and then it's like,
do you not know that almost every episode is written and directed by people completely different from each other? I mean, there's like some directors here and there that are the same as previous ones, but like there's like 5 episodes in a row that have different directors and different writers, and then it keeps on going that way.
I can tell now.
Yeah, it's very apparent.
I don't see why it was so difficult to just stay consistent with the idea that there was one enemy that we were talking about the entire time from the episode 1, which was the dinosaur monster things. And they could have just stayed there on that. I don't know why introduce her. What were they trying? What was the point of introducing an entirely new enemy and having the enemy that we knew shift their focus to that enemy? My enemy is my the enemy of my enemy is my ally, etc. But they didn't work at all in this case, because it was like, it was a poor way to divulge who 8 really was. They could have kept that really simple, and they could have been like just some humans who wanted to they're power hungry. They're just people that Dr. Franxx worked with back in the day. They wanted to discover how to enslave the dinosaur people and all that stuff, but no, they took it way out into the ballpark and said, no, these are aliens from outer space and different planet, thousands of light years off somewhere else. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I'm basically in the same ballpark as you. Just like, it's very, very weird why they would introduce a whole new villain in this like last 4 or 5 episodes. Like, wow, okay, and it like completely shifts the momentum and all that stuff. I completely agree. If you had to, what would you give this specific episode a rating of any sort? Matthew, would you rate this anyway? Up or down?
Me. I would have to give 22 about like a 5.
Ooh,
no better.
A bit high. How about you, Kurosai? Do you have any?
We're doing a rating.
Yeah, a rating of a specific episode. You can do either or, like a 5 stars, or like 5 out of 5, or 10 out of 10, or A minus, B minus, whichever you.
Which is for episode 22.
Yeah, for specifically episode 22. I know it's hard to rate this one. I find it.
Don't stress about it too much. It's alright.
If you don't come to a conclusion, that's fine.
I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, honestly. It was just so much that it didn't make any sense for them to just do. It's like an actual child came in and wrote this.
Alright, I will throw in one thing that might be able to contribute to like why would you need to throw this in at the very last minute, and this isn't a good explanation, but it might have been the one that Trigger and A1 figured would have been the best idea to go with. The whole core theme of the series is essentially marriage and unity, right? So because of that, they once they implemented the fact that 02 is part Klaxosaur, they might have wanted to go with the angle of, if the lead heroine is a Klaxosaur and the lead male is now becoming one too, then if we are going to have the final villain stay the Klaxosaurs themselves, then they might have just figured that doesn't really align as well with what they wanted to do, and because of that, they could have just figured to show that they're going to really hammer home the idea of like let's take the big fight, the big war with the Klaxosaur and put it to the side, and let bygones be bygones. Like they're no longer our enemy, kind of thing, right? They might have figured at the last minute, if we want Klaxosaurs at the end of the day to be seen as the peaceful party, then we're gonna need a third party, like a third power. And it's not a good way to look at it, but since the writing's been shaky pretty consistently throughout the course of the series, that might have been what they were trying to go for. It's tough because throughout Franxx we've had periods of like 3 to 4 episodes that have been great, then 3 to 4 that have just been shaky. So if anything, that I could point that to the fact that they wanted to like put the Klaxosaurs on a pedestal of like we're treating them as the heroes now too. And it's not great, but there you go. Like anything's possible now.
I think they could have handled it a little bit better than that by just keeping it like the same villains.
They didn't have to turn ape into an alien race. I think they could have just kept them people.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's the enemy. That's who you go after. That's who we say, okay, well, we need all the humans who actually want to act like humans, and all the dinosaur people come together and say, let's fight ape, because they're the ones who are like this. They want to be in this neo-topian society. So let's fight them. They were the enemy. I don't think because they demonstrated beforehand that when they went down to the cave underneath the earth and they went to go meet the princess, that they were willing to fight against them. And then we already had plot that was divulged beforehand that said they had a lot of instances where they ran into them and they actually got some cells and they made their own clone. So they didn't need to hype them up or soup them up into like these super alien beasts to compete with the dinosaur people. They were already at that level because they were already going back and forth with them for years. So the shift to just completely change their the setting, have them go to a different galaxy, and a different race is just weird to me. You could have just kept it all on Earth, because this series, you guys said you like mechas. This series wasn't really geared towards being a mecha in the first place. I noticed after a while I had to just completely say, okay, this is more about melodrama. This is more about this is a growing age anime.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I had to rate this specific episode, I'm gonna go hard on it, and I'm gonna go 3 out of 10 because it pretty much killed all the tension for me. Because like previously, it was just like, oh my god, we're getting there, and then, oh wait.
But Sterling, if we don't establish the fact that the kids know how to grow their own fucking veggies, then how is this a proper coming of age story? You have to look out for yourself. Number one, every single day. If you're out of magma, you grow your veggies.
Now see, that would have worked a lot better if the fight was on Earth, because it would have been like an actual situation where they were like military members and they were trying to get these provisions and stuff during a fight. Because as it progressed on Earth, the Earth would become more ravaged. It would become more dramatic for them to look for supplies. Let's go over here so we can find out this little spot that might have vegetation over here or some land so we can prop in. Going in that direction to get to that place to get the assets they need, they would get attacked. The basic writing.
Yeah, pretty much. Alrighty.
Instead of doing that in a timely manner, they decided to do it at the wrong time, at the very end of the series, when Goro by himself goes off and does that.
As if we needed like 10 or 20 more episodes. We were gonna have like 10 or 20. That would make sense, but no, they paced that out like, oh man, let's get it. Let's drop it all at once. That's it.
Yep.
That's the whole series.
So on to episode 23.
Yes, sir.
Basically, it was pretty much like the last minutes of episode 22, which they found out that 02 is consciously still fighting the Verm up there in space, and they decide to all go to space. And like, okay, let's go over there up to space and fight with that big huge mech, the Apis or whatever. Since Hero got to be with his 02, and pretty much he gets in with buddies with the Nine's leader Alpha, and pilots with him. Like, I see where this is going. And pretty much they have like a quasi Gurren Lagann-esque battle in the space with the Verm, with the Klaxosaurs and the humans all fighting with each other, and all of a sudden Hero and Alpha sees that they're super close to the Apis, and Alpha says, hey, you know what's a cool idea? I'll sacrifice myself so you can get into that big huge Apis. Like, alright, do what you gotta do, boy.
I'm gonna sacrifice myself to take out one mook.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is the entirety of my character's purpose. It's all been building up to this. I'm gonna take out this one jackass.
And pretty much Hero gets into contact with 02, and they're all cool now. But back on Earth, oh boy, Kokoro and Mitsuru, they stay because Kokoro's pregnant and Mitsuru as the father of the baby, since for some reason he knows, even after being his mind erased from that event.
Oh yeah. Those memories are fun.
All of a sudden they kind of just make that whole thing just go away with, oh yeah, hey, you want to get together now? Like, alright, I'm cool with that, Kokoro says. Like, alright, we cool. And they stay with 02, the unconscious, who is quote-unquote consciously over there. And all of a sudden, when 02 and Hero become one, it makes one of the big huge mechas into a human-shaped Extreme Diebuster XX Machina Gundam X, quote-unquote, etc., and it looks okay. And all of a sudden, they go into a portal to transport them directly to the Verm, and that's where the episode pretty much ends. There was enough action here, there was enough drama here as well. Enough was done here that was like, alright, it saved its graces here and there, but not a whole lot. But you know,
enough happened here to remind us that this is a mecha anime, and we had robot fights in this episode, which is something that every now and then we got to remind you of. That's what this is about.
My problem is that if you compare it to previous episodes, you think a galactic space battle would be much more glamorous than anything you've seen on Earth. And I definitely get that. They souped up all the mechs to make them look different. They all got hyped up saying, "Oh, we got matching armor now and stuff. Got these weapons and stuff. The aliens left us behind all this stuff. We're gonna go out there and kick some ass." It wasn't as flashy as what we saw in even episodes as early as 3, where we had this really cool frame interpolation going on and all these cool animation techniques that a lot of animators don't really use that often. And then it gets this late in the game and you don't see any of that stuff anymore.
I believe that it has hand in hand of, oh, I believe they blew their budget all on that, and then
definitely
the last episodes are like, alright, we'll just have this panning shot of this mecha floating in space and shooting a big huge laser. Done and done. Any more thoughts on this specific episode of 23 before we rate it, if we need to or not?
I don't like how, even though Mitsuru and Kokoro have that memory sealed,
yeah,
it seeped out slowly. I think it should have just broke out completely. Since, I mean, you might be able to say that Hiro was able to get past his because he's part demon or some shit, and it was easy for him to just forget his memories that easily. But
yeah,
with Mitsuru, it's pretty recent, and the only thing really stopping him from regaining his memories completely is the fact that, I don't know, I guess it was recent at the same time.
Yeah.
But he had Kokoro next to him constantly. Unlike Hiro, he had to actually figure out who she was bit by bit, and the same thing for her. Kokoro was there the whole time, but after they got their memories erased, they were right back at each other's side. So it was like, shouldn't you just like remember it a bit more? You think, from their perspective,
yeah,
the military perspective, they would separate them to prevent them from having their memories come back, but they just put them right back together.
Yeah.
So it's like it should have came out a lot quicker. I think after the time skip, they were still kind of like shaky, like I don't really know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Verm, I don't even know what to say because there's nothing to talk about them. There's literally nothing to say about them
Yeah.
in terms of anything when it comes to the plot, because they just drop out of nowhere. I can't say anything like, oh, they're there, they had a nice design going on, they just blew Klaxosaurus people.
Yeah.
And Ape should have been more vocal throughout the entire fight. After they left, they were like, that was it.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything else.
They just erased from time. Like, all right. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this, Matthew?
Yeah. I'd say that overall, there's quite a few things that stick out to me like a sore thumb with the last few episodes, and that's a shame because the series had its good high moments. Darling in the Franxx, a lot of it feels like stuff we've already been over, just a worse version of it in quite a few places, and that makes it frustrating because I've come to expect like a certain standard, I guess I should say, of the studio by now, and all right, I'm trying to cut back on how many times I draw this comparison because it's gonna get tired after a while. But when I look at the Verm, all that I can think of is like, do you remember how much you liked the anti-spiral? Well, this is that, just not done anywhere near as well, and that frustrates the hell out of me. And truth be told with you, the situation with Mitsuru and Kokoro is actually one of the things that I think was done here that I actually appreciated quite a lot. And that feels weird, but since since this whole series is one big coming of age festival, having to have the maturity and responsibility to know that you've lost a part of you, whether it's your memories, a part of your body, fucking whatever, and still want to and be able to start from scratch and work with someone, that's touching. Like I genuinely like the fact that Kokoro and Mitsuru both realized that they're not going to get back what they once had, and they're like, fuck it, fine, we're still going to make do with what we have now. And I appreciated the fact. Pardon?
That's a good point to make, because you don't see that often. A lot of series just say, oh, well, we got to get our memories back. We can't do anything else. We need the memories back.
Yeah. Yeah. To take that angle of like, okay, we can throw in a plot device here. It wouldn't be too difficult, like stupider things have happened. But we're gonna take a much more human approach of like the two of them don't get what they had back, but they make do as best as possible. It's a breath of fresh air, and it was actually one of the highlights of the overall relationships through the series, and seeing that come to a head in 23 was actually pretty nice. So I will give it that much. Beyond that, I really do not like the design of True Apis whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, like as soon as it zooms out and you take a look at the mech from like a full body shot perspective, the whole thing is meant to symbolize a wedding gown.
Of course,
and I get it. Yeah, that's what they're trying to. That's what they're going with here, and it's fine. But how do you find a balance between wanting to implement symbolism and wanting to have something that just looks good, period? And I feel that they didn't get the balance right here. When I look at the True Apis, it just looks cumbersome and I just don't dig it. The extremely lifelike 02 face doesn't really blend well with the rest of it. It comes off as kind of creepy. So it's a bit of a shame.
Look in line by having her make almost no facial expression. She would just kind of smile the entire time. It was kind of funny. She was just grinning the entire time. She wasn't frowning.
Yeah.
She was so at peace, I guess. It was her wedding, but she was out there fighting millions and millions of aliens.
Yeah. It was okay. For those of you who know which design that I'm talking about, the God Gundam from the Gundam series, which I think might have been exclusive to one of the Warriors games. It's absolutely awful, and I would consider the True Apis to be just one or two steps above that. It's not great whatsoever either. I'm gonna try and find a picture once I get the chance to give someone else the floor. But I wish that they had gone back and still implemented how do we want to take our final mech design? We want to make it symbolize something, but we also at the end of the day have to have it feel tasteful, look cool. Mech has to look cool, and at the end of the day, it seems like a really shallow way of thinking, but everything that we've seen from Franxx's mech designs up until now, really made me feel, oh, this is gonna look sleek, angular, fucking more traditionally humanoid and beautiful. And and in quite a few ways, this did do that, just not in the way that I was looking forward to. So I don't know. Some people might like it. I didn't really dig it whatsoever. But there you go. Gigantic space titties, though. So big close up of that. So if that's your jam, then you certainly got that out of it. I don't know. That's about it from me.
Yeah.
I like Heroes design a lot. He was pretty cool.
Yeah. His design, with his blue horns.
Blue horns and the tubes coming out of his neck.
Yeah, and the eyeliner, cough.
That was a pretty nice touch, yeah. Overall, I'd give 23 a 6.
Same.
Yep.
I would do it. Pretty much the reason why I didn't really extremely like Kokoro and Mitsuru, completely, getting over their, well, not really getting over their, mind erase, whatever you want to call it, is because, it was treated in, the previous episodes in which they actually, got mind erased, was, a kind of, oh wait, that previous episode did that? They got married? Nuh-uh, we're going to put a stop to it in this new episode, which is directed and written by somebody else. We're gonna sandbag that whole thing. Nuh-uh, they're gonna get their memories erased. Oh boy. And then now they're just
gonna get married, it's not gonna be.
Yeah. And now they're just no, they were always meant to be with each other. It doesn't matter if their memories were erased. Fudge you, previous directors and writers. I'm just alright. I get it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say about that. Now, on to the final episode. Oh boy. You want to take a crack at this one, Matthew, since you are fairly recent, or yes, no,
Yeah.
maybe so, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Let me take care of this. Let's see what I got here.
Oh boy.
Just a moment. Excuse me. There we go.
Yes.
All right. No. I feel like this was 24, right?
Yes.
We got enough nice small points here that really wrapped up these subtleties with everyone's relationships that I feel this peaked like fairly nicely. It wasn't perfect whatsoever, but fuck it, we'll get more to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, Hiro officially says, listen everyone, I would love to stay here and help you and mop up what's left of these giant purple space assholes, but I've got to go through this Battlestar Galactica gate and chase after the big bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so 02 and Hiro go off, and for several years, this was a really neat touch that I didn't expect them to do whatsoever, but it was nice because, you know, the two of them finally got the time to simply be together peacefully. Well, most of the time there were, stacks here and there, but the two of them got the time that they really needed, I think, to round off their relationship, to just be one and the same, which was the theme and the whole that's the whole catch that the series had been going for up until now. So the fact that they got that was nice. Hiro and 02 are essentially floating through hyperspace, just melding their consciousnesses together. This is fine. I've got no real issue with this part. I think it was actually quite nice. I didn't keep track of the number of days that the grand total was, but it was something like 11, 12 years, unless I'm totally fucking this up.
I believe the first one was like 2 years past, and then the next one was 8 years past.
Okay, yeah. All right.
For the high points. But yeah, there was like some days here and there that were just past, like, oh, here's what he's doing, stuff like that. But
yeah,
the main points is 2 years and then 8 years.
We have the most, like, I'll give it this, it's probably one of the most interesting ways to have a time skip that I've seen in an anime yet, because you can have your more traditional approach of like 10 or 11 months, or like 2.5 years, or fucking whatever. Then bam, new character design, here he is, Naruto's got his better Rasengan, he's back from training. This is our time skip, baby. You can have that if you want to. It's been done several times before. This is neat. I haven't seen it done this way, and I like the fact that not only did we have some time to simply see Hiro and 02 going over what might as well have been their wedding vows together, but also to get some closure on how the relationships on Earth pan out. And that was particularly nice, though it left us with almost zero tension leading up to the final act, because you can't really have several minutes of, here's baby 1, here's baby 2, he's on his way, here's some babies. Oh, remember Ichigo, she's also having some babies. And implement all of this while still really keeping us at the edges of our seat for the bomb exploding. Which, since it's the honeymoon and since it's the send-off, might have kind of been the point of it. So I've got no huge gripes with that. This was definitely better than the last 2 episodes. So it rounded off well. So at long last, our heroes arrive at their final destination of... Did they even give a name of what the final, like, Verm planet thing was?
Yeah, all I called it was Vern Planet in my notes. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Our heroes arrive at Verm Planet. The Verm try to slip Hero into a multi-dimensional labyrinth, trademark, and then oh boy, howdy, what are we gonna do now? We're gonna implement one of the cheesiest fucking things that I've seen in any fucking anime in my entire life, and I've been watching these things for a while, so this is something else. Literally the power of friendship. We joke about this a lot, but literally the power of thoughts and prayers.
Oh boy.
Listen, everyone, raise your hands. Give Hero your energy, and we're gonna bring them all back together. The reestablishment of the mental link between the two was rough. It's not going to be one of the high points of this episode to look forward to when I watch it again. But fuck it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At the point that you're at when you've already got this much shaky writing, at this point, I don't even really care all that much. We've seen things that are about this stupid up until now. Whatever, let's move on. Our heroes succeed, the bomb explodes, there's not much more to say. Bam, we have our final big time jump. Their souls floating through space for 8 more years, I think you said it was?
So, yes.
Yeah. Until they finally reincarnate on Earth in a pair of as a pair of children. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but the girl from episode 1 that a hero first tried to sync with, Naomi, is the girl who shows back up in the last episode here. Totally missed that at first. I went on Reddit to look over some of the stuff that I might have missed with some of the guys there. And they were like, oh, so this is the closure for Naomi's character. Like, we're looking back to look at her. And I'm like, who the fuck is Naomi?
Quote unquote closure.
Yeah, what is this? And they're like, oh yeah, the woman from episode 1. What's really neat is the fact that she and Hero couldn't sync, and the reasons weren't fully explored upon at the time being. And then when you see her and Ikuno at the end of the last episode, who were implied to be in a relationship, now it's hammered home why that happened. The two of them couldn't sync because they didn't have the mental and emotional connection that you obviously need for piloting a Franxx, because now we know through the implication of the last scene that Naomi is attracted to women, and so is Ikuno, who we saw during episode 18 or so, I think it was, when she talked to Ichigo. So that was cool. There were some little bits and pieces here that I think we glossed over or forgot about. Everything wrapped up moderately well, but obviously it was far from perfection. So with all that being said, what would you say for this one, Sterling? You got anything you want to point out?
I'll just go over pretty much how Goro had to wait 8 years to become uncucked, but
Yeah. Poor Goro.
Yeah.
The thing you mentioned about her not being compatible with Hero, I thought the main reason was because he wasn't going to be compatible with any human, because he was part, he had the blood inside of him from her.
And they even made a point of Ichigo and Hiro being together in episode 2, I believe, and they couldn't really get together.
And after looking up part of Zero-Two's blood, I thought that might have been it too, but I think it's because of the relationship that Naomi was more geared towards, her sexuality. I may be totally wrong about this, and
it could be partly right.
I think that's it.
I think if that was the case, then Ikuno would not have been able to partner up with. She had 2 different pilots, and they were both male, so.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! No, wait, you're right. Why am I already forgetting so much about the series?
Because it's just, I don't know. After you just get rocked to shit against the wall by all the writers at once, you just gonna forget over time. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt. I'm glad we got this done as soon as the series ended, because I definitely would have forgotten after like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. No, but yeah, yeah, you're right. It seems that that's less the case of the conditions for piloting a Franxx.
That's the points in the series that I liked a lot. The reason why he couldn't pilot with other humans is because he wasn't a fucking human himself.
Yeah. As we eventually come to terms with, yeah.
He should have. It would have been nice if he would have transformed a lot earlier on, before he even went to space.
Yeah.
Because you could see he was developing horns. He should have gotten to a point where all the people saw him with horns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a point where they flashed like his blue horns and stuff like that, and he had blue eyes. But that was like, I think that was more of a premonitional thing and not an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like for a while that was more him growing like nubs out of his head, and that was it. Yeah. Sterling, you got any strong feelings about the last episode?
I'm gonna like say, or whatever you want to call it, pretty much go over what I was like pointed out by with Kurosai, in which you can totally see that the animation totally got like used up very fast, and the last episode is just them panning the robot to the left when they're going through space, and it's just like, okay, and then they're going towards like, oh, just shoot them lasers, boy, and oh, just have that one quick shot of her face going towards the camera as she puts the bomb into the home planet of the Verm. And that's pretty much the extreme animation that you'll be getting from here, with the exception of some explosions here and there. But other than that, like, this was pretty much like a very I wasn't feeling anything from this last episode. Like, these last episodes, like, combined of just like, okay, you're doing this, alright, I guess you're doing this, okay. And pretty much I wasn't really feeling all these characters' endings as much as I have been from the past, of like saying that I've not really hated any of the characters when they were introduced, and I found that they're each specific episodes they've been handled very well, but at the end of it all, it was like almost for nothing.
I eventually came around to more or less feeling the same way. When a couple of them were first introduced, I didn't care for them. Back when the series began, I thought that Zorome was a fucking cunt. Like, I didn't care for him whatsoever. But, you know, once he got his little episode 2, his episode 2 to himself of like, alright, I'm gonna sit down and talk with this woman like a human being. What is the history of this place? Like, wait, what's that? I can't become a adult myself. Like that kind of situation. Once it came around to that, and him getting the chance to have a bit of spotlight, I was finally like, okay, maybe he's not totally trash.
Yeah.
But I did not care for him at all at first. About episode 24 though, how about that gunbuster / Gurren pose at the end? I know you have some strong feelings about that. Yeah.
I think it came out of nowhere, and I was just like, wow, really? You're gonna just bust out this thing for no reason? Like, all it is just a huge, like, oh, remember this thing? And I'm just like, alright, yeah, I remember that, but you're not really using it to its ability, but you know. But yeah. if I had to give this a number for just this specific episode, I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Like, it was above average for me, and I was just like, yeah, this is how it ends, and I haven't really felt anything extreme.
That's an ending.
Yeah. They could have really had the intro song played again in like the last scenes, but I guess not. Whatever. Like they did with
No, we got that.
episode 14 or 13, whichever.
Yeah, we got that at the halfway point. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have reused it again, but you know.
I don't like how they did not explain. You just mentioned it earlier about how Zorome got to talk to adults. Talk to an adult, and pretty much it was. I think people started to imply that was Miku, a clone, Miku's donor clone, and Zorome was in the container, but they never really touched upon that at all. Until it was found out that Nana and Hachi were probably also clones. I don't know about Hachi, but I know Nana was, definitely, because they had the other woman come out of nowhere. But they never talked about, you know, I mean, they did in the flashback. They talked about how they started to clone people, but they never went into depth as to like who everyone was cloned after or anything like that. Yeah. And what they were gonna do as an adults. They didn't explore upon what the adults were doing. They went back and got all the kids who were shipped off into like a container or some shit, but they didn't talk about the adults. They just kind of died. Yeah. And then another thing, what was it? I think during that last episode, where they were just drifting into space, like the whole ship was supposed to be like a honeymoon boat or something. They were cruising in the lake or something. They were just talking to each other back and forth. I think that would have been a good point to have the Vern divulge their motives a bit more, have them some kind of back and forth dialogue between Hero and 02, and talk about the princess. And they didn't do anything like that. They just kind of drifted in space, and when they got there, like, oh, you're here, let's fight. Yeah.
Do you have a specific number you would give this, Matthew? Specifically?
I will give this about a 6.5.
Yeah. All right. So
maybe about as far as like a 7. Yeah. Then not anything above that. Yeah.
So now that we've finished talking about all these episodes, how about all together? What are your final thoughts on Darling in the Franxx?
It didn't need to be a mecha. It didn't need.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
The whole mecha thing held it back.
I totally agree. I was in the same boat from like the first episodes of. I don't really care about all these mechas fighting. I want to get to know these characters a bit more because they're like, there's at least some characterizations going on, and I was like, I was fine with that, and like all the drama kind of stuff going on. And then every time it went to the mecha fighting, I was just kind of bored. I'm like, alright, yeah, there's some animation here, boy. Thank you. Now let's get to the drama. Yeah. But after a while, it was just kind of, I was very much taken out of it with how many of the directors and writers were very different from each other from each episode almost. And I was just like, wow. It's very apparent, and it's like almost like a back to back in which they're like, oh, you're gonna do that thing, oh, or you're gonna make that happen. Well, we're gonna make this happen to contradict that last episode and all that stuff. I'm like, all right, okay. And I was just kind of getting tired of that a little bit.
The same thing that happens with mangakas when they're writing stuff. Yeah, I think the same thing happens a lot for a lot of animators and directors. I think whenever they had the altercation where everyone was sending hate mail and death threats to that one voice actor.
Oh boy, yeah.
I think that started to influence how they write the plot a little bit. They saw how crazy people were, and they were like, "Oh, we need to try to prevent something like that from happening." I think someone should have died. I'm not sure who. Maybe Futoshi or Goro. I think Goro would have been a nice kill. Just to set on the series, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah, they played it very safe.
Ikuno came very close to dying. They were trying to make it out as if Miku was going to end up getting rapidly aged into death as well. Then nothing happened. All that would have been overly dramatic towards the end. So it could have had a better ending if they simply would have kill someone off, in my opinion, just to set the tone and make it more dramatic effect.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's not like they set off a bunch of death flags in like the openings and stuff.
Yeah. So once again, like your final extreme thoughts on the entire series itself.
Consistently inconsistent is what I would describe Darling in the Franxx as. There's too many cases of, like, okay, if you want to check out the highlights of this mecha anime, you can watch these 4 and then skip the next and watch the next 4 and skip the next. It's so weird to me how things turned out that way. The quality like worked itself into that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen like any series through any medium like with this pattern before. It was super bizarre to me. Beyond that, I think that when we reviewed episode 1 a few months ago, Sterling, the two of us said, "All right, so is this one that's gonna go down in history as like Gynax / Trigger? Like you gotta check this out, or is this gonna fade into obscurity?" And I guess the latter. I guess like okay. This, I doubt it's going to be one of the ones where it's like, oh, you've never heard of this studio? You've got to check out this one of their works and this one. I don't see Franxx as being one of those ones where you've got to really take it as like a landmark of the anime medium, where it's like, you've got to check this one out. First you watch Gundam, then you watch Evangelion, you watch Dragon Ball. Don't forget Darling in the Franxx. I don't think that's really going to be the case here, but for what it was worth as like a distraction and something to chat about, I think it served its purpose just fine. It got the job done there.
Mm-hmm.
On the whole, I'd give the series like about the same as I gave the last episode, which was a hard 6 to like a soft 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark, but I'm gonna put this as super average, so it's gonna be like around a hard 5 to a low 6. But
yeah,
I'm just like, there were a lot of really good episodes in this series.
I wouldn't go as far as to call it average, as because I know what average is.
Yeah.
And average is pretty bad. Average anime is bad for like, when you think about it compared to other mediums, what is average in this medium, what is average in this medium, and you think this is pretty enjoyable. But when you think about an average anime, you think, oh, this is, I'm dropping this at 6 episodes and I'm not going to watch anymore. Is it?
Yeah.
Like, I think when it comes to things that are slightly above average, you start thinking about things like Sword Art Online. It's not like, it's not good. In the sense of writing, it's not memorable when it comes to, oh yeah, that was a good episode right there. Yeah, that was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those anime they think, yeah, that was. I'm not thinking about it, it's pretty good, but it's not something I would have hyped up, and that's where Darling in the Franxx falls in.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would take Darling in the Franxx over Sword Art Online, but that still makes it to be just slightly above average. When I think about good anime, I think about something that is nearly consistent through and through, something that goes down in history. Because that's what it takes. An anime is really, really good, or it's fucking bad. And when it's in between, it's just really shaky.
Yeah.
Because there's so many points where, like you just mentioned, a lot of directors come in and change things. It's not true to source material, and all these other factors that play into it, and it just gets weird. But
yeah. As
was decent in the beginning. After that halfway point where the doctor came in and started talking about the past and magma energy, we didn't think about magma energy until then. No one said anything about it that much, and it just kept bringing up plot points that never completely explained anything. And that's something a lot of anime suffer with.
Oh yeah. As Matt from Super Best Friends Play once said, there is nothing worse than a 5. Give me a 1 or give me a 10. Like, give me a super classic or give me Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Like, don't give me anything in between. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. A lot of people I think another comparison like that would be to say that if you were like at school and like high school and you don't want to be the one who is in the middle where you're not noticed, you want to be like super popular or that loop that everyone knows. You're at the bottom, you're at the top, and then if you're in between, you're not noticed. And I think Darling the Franxx is only noticeable because of 02, number 1. That was literally the reason why I picked it up. People started posting pictures of this naked pink bitch, and I was like, well, that's pretty nice. She has his horns. That's a nice little aesthetic. She got the eyeliner going on. Her titties are out. I'm gonna watch this. Found out it was mecha, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not the biggest fan of mechas because unless it's Code Geass, I'm not really gonna be all up in arms about it. And the designs were even more of a turn off for me because it was like humanoid light mechas. I think when it comes to humanoid mechas, they need to look something like something out of Zone of the Enders. I like those kind of designs where it's like sharp and nimble like mechas.
Yeah,
but this was like some Global Force such Saturday cartoon type mechas designs. And what's going on? These faces, kind of weird. And then some of them were really cool. Like Stratius, hers was cool. All the other ones were kind of just there.
Especially when she's in the lion form, or whatever you call it.
Oh yeah,
The beast
the
mode.
Zoid.
The Zoids, any more lasting thoughts on this little shindig? Or are we good to call it?
I got one thing to bring up that I think that I might have totally missed, so I just want to reconfirm if either of you guys caught this. Was it ever stated why Nana and Hachi became immortal?
Nana and Hachi?
Because they're clones, right?
They were basically, I believe their puberty or whatever you want to call it was halted. I don't remember how or if it even was explained, but I believe they were. There was dialogue between them beforehand that their puberty and stuff like that was extremely halted or was like taken away or whatever.
I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one. I think what's his name? I forget his name, but the leader of the Nines. He mentioned something about how that's pretty weird that you relapse into puberty. Yeah. He mentioned that to Nana, and I think another point to make as to how that came about was the fact that number one, they are clones. You know that. Yes. And when it came to the aspect as to whether you were going to become an adult who lived in a house and did nothing all day, or you would be owned by the military and you would serve your purpose in the military for the rest of your life, I think that's why they went into that process as to why they would become immortal. But they never really went into specifics as to what type of immortality that is. Yeah. Because we have all these. If you shoot me in the head, I'll come back to life, or I don't age, or etc. and stuff like that. They didn't go into detail, but.
So.
All right. Yeah.
Is that the last thing?
I think we've more or less defeated Darling in the Franxx.
Alrighty. So basically we're gonna be ending this little podcast with what are you looking forward to in the upcoming weeks? So what are you looking forward to, Matthew, in the upcoming weeks? Anything you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to playing more Pokemon. I've gotten back into Omega Ruby. I dug out my 3DS and my copy of Omega Ruby because I seem to be right now. Like, I don't know if it's just like my YouTube recommendations or like what the fuck's doing it, but I'm running into like a lot of Pokemon nowadays, so it's got me in the mood where it's like, yeah, I'll dig this out and get through this again. You know, I had a fun time with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that going on. Beyond that, I've got a rough fucking week ahead of me. I'll tell you more about that later because it's boring. It's just work shit. But yeah, there's that. Beyond that, life is life. I'm still still writing. I put out that short story a while ago, and I've got some. You read it?
No, I just seen it. I was gonna go over it while I was going to my destination today, but you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't put your expectations too high because my short story was more of a shitpost than anything, but I had fun making it. So
I'd expected as much.
So if it gets a chuckle out of you, then it's done its job. So still doing that, still got more plans in the works. If I've knocked off one, I can motivate myself to knock off more. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more or less it for me. What are you looking forward to, Kurosai?
What's it called? This is some kind of Spanish word. The volleyball anime.
Oh, hi.
I was very pleased. I'm a big fan of animation. That's why Don't Like Franxx had like a lot of moments that just completely fucked me in the ass. And I was like, no, this isn't it. This is definitely not it.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of points where they just turned up the animation out of nowhere. Like for a very simple scene, for like they're moving through hallways and you can see like ripples on their clothing and stuff like that, and they're turning angles. And that's pretty hot. I like that. But episode 1 came out for the volleyball anime, and I was like, this is crazy. This is like, I haven't seen this since the first episode of Yuri on Ice, because that first episode, during that sequence where he was skating, Victor was skating and all that shit, and he was like, this is hot. This is really hot.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this, because that entire episode, it wasn't like one sequence. The entire episode was very well animated, and that episode dropped today. Actually, I'm gonna go watch it after this. And another anime I'm looking forward to is what's it called? Banana Fish.
Ooh, I heard about that.
That's that's an anime set in America, and I actually had someone ask me about this not too recently, or not too long ago, where someone said, I don't really like anime anymore because I don't really see a lot of black people appear in it. Not a lot of black people representing us, and this anime comes out and there's like a black person every other screen. Like this is this anime that's it's really there. It's like it's really out there in America. There was a point in the episode where they even mentioned, this guy has connections to everyone in the location there. And I think they said if it was New York or something. It looks like it's set in New York. It's like a city environment. Yeah. And it's kind of like Gangster a bit, but with a younger crowd, and they're more thuggish in the sense that they're not like organized completely. Yeah. And the biggest thing that drew me in, just because it's interesting and it's a different take on how they handle things, is that the main character seems to be like I don't want to spoil too much if it's the first episode, but the main character seems to be like what's the word I can use? I don't want to say anything too crazy. The main character seems to be the bitch of a mafia boss. All right. Like he was picked up off the streets as a kid, and I guess over time, you you give me a little bit of sucky suck, you can stay here at my house. So that's an interesting take to have that on, televised in Japan. Other than that, the anime looks very diverse. Starts off with a little military flashback, and it goes from that to the point where a kid in Japan shows up and a little car chase happens. Someone gets shot in the back seat of the car. It's pretty. I can tell it's going to go somewhere. It's not going to be like a Gangster, where it didn't really go anywhere, and the main characters were powered and etc.
Well, because the studio got all canceled and all that stuff. Unfortunately. So you done with your looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to finishing a lot of things that I should have already finished. I have a lot of commissions, YouTube stuff to handle, and things just keep popping up that are holding me back and preventing me from doing this and that. So I'm excited to see how I handle these things. And I need to get more geared towards trying to find a groove and stop trying to experiment, because that is also holding me back. Is taking different routes to try to complete something just to make it look a bit different.
Yeah.
Versus actually trying to shove out content so I can get what actually matters done, and even be more speedy like I used to be. Because I think over time, as I went on as a content creator, a memetic shit posting content creator, is that as my skills increased, it took longer for me to make videos, and that's a good thing in the long run, but it actually gets slower and slower and slower as I try to learn more and more and more. When in actuality, I feel like I should just pertain to coverage, trying to make sure I get out what people want to see and stuff like that, and not be so much focused on my own personal pursuit, because I want to have an in between. Other than that, that's pretty much it. What I'm looking forward to isn't going to be around till December. And as far as Pokemon, since you mentioned it, that's not going to be anywhere in my scope of vision until 2019, because that's when the actual Pokemon game's coming out, not that Pokemon Go thing which they're trying to release.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't really play Pokemon games outside of the main series. I like Gale of Darkness and Coliseum, but anything else is
oh
not
boy,
interesting.
those are my favorites.
They're pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with the 2019 release, because that's gonna be the mainstay one, and it's probably gonna be like Gale of Darkness and Coliseum in terms of how they're gonna handle it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's gonna be on the Switch too, or maybe it's just gonna be. It has to be on the Switch because they're probably gonna discontinue the 3DS pretty soon. I wouldn't say discontinue, but they're gonna try to shift the audience more. They're gonna keep up these Switch sales.
So with that, are you done?
I'm still here as well.
Yeah, I know.
I'm allowed to talk now that Darling and the Franxx is over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since you're here, yeah.
There doesn't look like there's gonna be anything this season people can hype up like that, so I'm pleased.
Yeah.
Everything is gonna be pretty average, it seems like. And Banana Fish might be the one to come in and fuck everything up, but I don't know. Everyone knows about Overlord.
Of course.
Everyone knows about Attack on Titan. So.
Vento Oreo though. Give me that Vento.
Make it to that. There was like a fucking 4-hour line for that and the My Hero movie.
Yeah.
Oh, did you get in, Chris? Did you?
No.
It was only 4 hours.
No, yeah, it's 4 hours too long, man.
Yeah. So, anything you're looking forward to, Chris?
Getting out of LA.
That's it?
Mostly.
Yeah.
Right. I'm also looking forward to the My Hero game because I got to play that a couple times.
I heard it was just another Naruto clone, and the actual Naruto game that's coming out is actually good this time in comparison to how most Naruto games were in the past. The Strikers one.
Well, the thing is, I don't care about Naruto, and I do care about My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited for that one. I do like the character customization in Naruto, and I'll probably will pick it up because of that. But yeah, and Code Vein looked pretty cool. I didn't get a chance to play that because that line was crazier than I expected.
Yeah.
And as always, SNK Heroines.
Ooh.
Still repping it. Someone's got to stay behind the heroines. Good on you, buddy.
I got an SNK Heroines pin. It's great. It's the only.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was a Lucky Chloe too. So I'm
You've got to tell Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm repping all my girls.
All right. What I'm looking forward to is pretty much going on my little journey back to San Diego. Pretty much doing the same exact thing for school and stuff like that. And that's pretty much about it. Finishing up some art stuff that I still have to do, some reviews here and there, and that's pretty much it. And with that, thank you very much for coming on, Kurosai.
Oh yeah, no problem.
It was very nice having you.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I've both Chris and I have been fans of you for quite a while now, and you seem pretty approachable. So I was like, let's see if we can make this work. So I'm really glad that you were cool about this. So thanks for coming on, man.
You're very much welcome to say that. So Matthew, do you want to do the honors of being that boy to say?
I will take us out. I'll wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. What do we say at the end of every podcast?
Don't get eliminated.
Eliminated.
There you go.
Alrighty. Take care, folks.
Bye-bye.
So.
¡Ave! ¡Thank you, pero macho!